Light on the Wabash. How I long for my Indiana home.
And now for the most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engine!
Right on the tail of Marco Andretti. Can a teenager win in Indianapolis? Here's the finish. Sam Hornish Jr. makes the pass. He'll win it. Sam Hornish Jr.
It's not a tour de force. It's a tour de pin.
I don't know what it is. Danny Sullivan gets him. Danny Sullivan gets him down. No, he's swirling. No, he's spinning. Danny Sullivan spins. But he goes around twice and gathers it in.
Absolutely incredible. Danny Sullivan headed for victory lane in Indianapolis.
Our twin checkered flag in the air. It's a battle at the start-finish line. And Joseph Newgarden will win the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Davey Hamilton, he finally gets the buggy off him, but the pass makes it stick. Joseph Newgarden goes back-to-back, wins the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Indianapolis 500 podcast of Borg Warner Productions. My name is Braydyn Bear-Lents, and you can follow us anywhere you get your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, on iHeartRadio, and more of them, these platforms that do host podcasts now. So please make sure to subscribe to that. And I did want to actually preface about tomorrow being Fast Friday at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And we're going to get into more of this talk about this around all of the action on day 3 today. But I just wanted to preface that there will be a storm coming to southern Indiana and central Indiana from basically most of the state except for the northern half. The northern half of the state is enduring storms tonight and tomorrow. But the severe risk tomorrow will impact the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it will also impact my neck of the woods. So be very prepared tomorrow for weather. This is going to be, especially in the south, very almost not really life-changing because the threat of tornadoes are pretty low, but the threat of high winds is really, really high. The chances of rain is really, really high. But I mean, I'm even concerned about even posting tomorrow. So tomorrow's a special day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so I will keep you updated. And if you follow any of my socials, I will keep you updated on that. But it's huge because Fast Friday is supposed to be calm and scenic, but this is the first time since 2008 that a major storm is about to impact not just Indianapolis, but also down south. So if we do not have a podcast tomorrow, we do not have an episode posted by at least 11:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will probably not be on the air tomorrow. I will, in fact, maybe have a YouTube video pop here and there in the morning, maybe leading up to the practice session and the final fast practice of the week, which this week's practice has been fun. It's been fun, to say the least. And with the limited amount of time that I've had to watch it, because now it's on Fox Sports 2 and I don't even have that, I've been keeping up with practice tutorials, with practice tape and tutorials online. So, of course, the highlights have really helped. And so that's going to really be an impact tomorrow. And if we do not have an episode tomorrow, we'll probably have an episode Saturday night. And Saturday night is going to be a mix of two different things. Saturday night's going to be a mix of the highlights from Fast Friday, as long as the power and everything is not out in my neck of the woods, but also Pole Day, and covering into extensive detail about how those 2 days formulated from each other, how those days were able to connect. And so we'll talk briefly about Fast Fridays, but if this episode is going to be the last for at least given until Sunday, I mean, I hope and pray I don't have to at least wait till Sunday to post another episode. But the weather will be a factor, and I'm concerned, to say the least. I really am. And so more wind and hail that could knock out power. So for the podcast, of course, I do also have other options to record audio. I will do that and send it, but we might not have the intro or anything else. So be prepared for that in case it does come to that point. We hope it doesn't. We hope the storms tomorrow will be calm. But, I mean, you have to be slightly concerned about the weather tomorrow. And that's going to actually impact those at the Indianapolis 500 and those at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So, be prepared for that. Everybody that's on the track, though, be hyper prepared tomorrow because this is going to be a strange and odd weather pattern. We're going to have really a calm day going into the day tomorrow, but then it's going to turn pretty windy, very rainy, very full of thunderstorms very quickly around the 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. mark. And then after that, it should be calm for pole day. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone has their sunscreen, their jackets, their coats, their umbrellas. Make sure to be prepared for the weather tomorrow because it could get pretty bad. And if it does get pretty bad, I don't mean tornadoes. I mean high winds, hail, that sort of stuff. So be prepared, everyone. Be prepared for tomorrow if you're at Indianapolis or if you're traveling to Indianapolis to watch pole and bump day, 3 of the most exciting days of the year, one of which will be impacted by severe weather and the 2 others will not be. And then going into that Monday, we then have that whole week where we get to actually have some practices, then carb day, and then it leads up all the way until the Indianapolis 500. So please, please, please be aware of the weather tomorrow. And also please be aware that if we don't have an episode tomorrow, keep your heads up that we will have an episode maybe early Saturday morning if there's no trouble. If there is trouble, then I will let you guys know ahead of time. So, enough weather talk. Let's get straight to the Indianapolis 500 coverage. As today was actually very interesting. There was only one really big event that happened that and I think is the story that everyone's been talking about throughout the weekend and throughout the day, and that is Kyle Larson nearly getting involved in a wreck with Christian Rasmussen. Rasmussen is not a good driver in this race. He's not. I don't even know how he's in practice. He's been off the last 2 days. He was around the top 30 or bottom 30 of all drivers coming into the Indianapolis 500 practice. He stayed in third, around the bottom 30, and today nearly has this near miss, which could have really impacted Kyle Larson's car and brought out a caution. But I will say that Rasmussen tried to save his vehicle as best as possible, but it still could have really had an impact on not just the race itself, but also the rest of this practice. See, he spins around, spins, and then collects himself, missing Kyle Larson and bringing out a caution flag. So if you do think about it, there was no need to call the caution, by the way. Hardly anybody was going to be getting hit by that. I don't like how IndyCar does that. IndyCar for many years just do one major spin. I mean, he kind of spends about 360 just going around and around the dance floor and then collects himself and was able to get back on the track. So I'm really not for sure how in the world that is even an issue to even bring out the yellow flag in general, as he was able to collect himself. But IndyCar's been doing that the last several years, and it's been bugging the crap out of me. But that guy's no excuse for Rasmussen, who obviously does not have one of the best cars out there right now. It's really bad, considering how he may not even be qualifying in the top 30 going into the race weekend. If that does happen, I'd be shocked. I would be really shocked, because it's just a matter of if then when. If he can't control his vehicle, what's going to happen? And that was the big story. And also, it's also big because it involves Kyle Larson, who again is going to do this back-to-back 2 times. 2024 and 2025 are the 2 years that Kyle Larson's going to go with the ultimate challenge of going to the Indy 500 and then the Coke 600, the NASCAR race later on that night. And so he's going to go for the home run, I call it. They have a specific name for it. But the duel, I mean, it's just back-to-back races is just mentally and physically and mentally taxing on any driver. Nonetheless, one that has to race in NASCAR and IndyCar on the same day. So it's really interesting to see how he is. He's also a front runner to win the Indianapolis 500 this year. So we are really looking forward to seeing maybe a NASCAR driver win it all again for the first time ever. That's actually happened one other time. But there is a lot of drivers that are upset, not just of how the day is going, but also because this is the number one time that drivers will get to actually show their emotions until race day. And so that's going to be, this has been fun. And I will admit, with the limited amount of coverage I have watched, it's been fun. Now, on full race results for today. Last 2 days, it was Alex Palou yesterday, and I think the day before that. But today, it was Joseph Newgarden taking a hold of the top time at the Indianapolis qualifiers with a time of 226.632 seconds. And Scott Dixon came in second. Connor Daly in third. He shocked a lot of people today. Pato O'Ward, the same thing, at fourth. Ryan Hunter-Reay at fifth. Alex Palou at sixth. Colton Herta seventh. Christian Rasmussen eighth. And thank God he saved the vehicle, because the frustration's just killing everybody with this guy. And then ninth is David Malakis. 10th is Scott McLaughlin. 11th, Alexander Rossi. 12th, Stingray Robb. 13th, Rinus VK. 14th, Marcus Ericsson. 15th, Helio Castroneves. 16th, Kyle Kirkwood. Then Kyle Larson at 17th. Christian Lundgaard at 18th. Dalvin Francisco at 19th. Jacob Abel, the rookie, at 20th. And then Kiffin Simpson at 21st. Marco Andretti, 22nd. Nolan Siegel, 23rd. Will Power, 24th. Ed Carpenter, 25th. Luis Foster, 26th. Marcus Ericsson, 27th. Jack Harvey, 28th. Takuma Sato, 29th. Felix Rosenquist, 30th. Caleb Alott, 31st. Robert Schwartzman, rookie, at 32nd. Santino Ferrucci, more on him. He has not been doing well. And Graham Rahal at 34th. So that rounds out the list of the day 3 practice. Man, oh man, it's frustrating for him. He blames his vehicle every 20 minutes. I don't get that. I just don't get that. Graham Rahal also complained today. Complained a lot about extra weight in the rear of his car being too high or something like that. And having struggles with radio communication. And Santino, again, back to Santino Ferrucci, just too upset for just no reason over a car that should be working. Now, you have to remember, he, I think, finished 5th and 6th the last few years at the Indy 500. He's been really just tough, mentally and physically and emotionally. And so, for him to really struggle, along with Andretti, it's been a really hard time for Ferrucci. But why is he blaming his vehicle? The vehicle is also a part of the issue. But if you also want to blame part of the issue, like I said, Pato O'Ward lost his helmet at one point. So drivers are really forgetting things and having a lot of problems with that. And I'm not saying that's an issue or anything. It's just an organizational skill issue, especially going into a race weekend like this, where the stakes are very high. And to be honest, they call this the greatest spectacle in racing for a reason. I mean, it's a spectacle. A spectacle has to involve some drama and some pain to it. And so, of course, Ferrucci has had numerous issues, tried to warm up one time, almost got, and then it gave him a drive-through penalty, and then he lost points, which went back to Alex Palou for that practice. and went back to change his car, and he just had issues. As for Graham Rahal, like I mentioned, he had radio and communication issues, and the Andretti's also had a little bit of communication issues. But for the most part, like I said, Santino Ferrucci's really got to figure this stuff out. I had really tried to get back on the lead lap, especially in these practices, but I'm really interested to see how his car is going to favor. He may be a bump day favorite. And so be aware of that as well. And then, the practice itself was nice. It was a clean practice overall with the little hiccups, besides the one with Rasmussen spinning his car out. Other than that, it was a decent practice for the most part. The big news coming in today is that Tony Stewart and Danica Patrick will be joining the booth today, or during the Indy 500. And, of course, Danica commemorating her 20th anniversary of when she became the first woman to lead the Indianapolis 500. And that, of course, was a major goosebump moment for everyone who witnessed it, including myself. And she was the highest finisher at the Indianapolis 500 that was female. And Tony Stewart just made the announcement. And you have to also remember, back in 2004, Tony Stewart wanted to race in the Indy 500. He was actually going to run on bump day, but then they discontinued that, kind of like what was going on this year with Kyle Busch, as Kyle Busch is not going to be racing in this year's Indy 500. But Stewart, being a native of Indiana, is a really big pleasure to have him. And his history just goes far and wide with how drivers are in Indianapolis, with how people are in Indianapolis, and with how the state of Indiana is. And so that's his impact goes beyond all measures. And same with Danica. She inspired many women to want to race in auto racing. She inspired many women to try and go out of their league and try to do something that women, like I watched this or I listened to a podcast that was actually premiered like 7 years ago, but it was talking about the USA Women's Professional Soccer League that lasted from 2001 to 2003 called the WUSA Championships. And so that was a whole soccer tournament revolved around professional female athletes. And of course, it also comes at a way better time in the world of Indiana, as Caitlin Clark and company are also impacting Indiana sports and the world right now, because she's putting Indianapolis on the map. And we need more women like that, especially in racing. We had that last year with Catherine Legg, but she was not able to go much of anywhere. And so, there's also going to be a brand for, it's pretty miraculous for women, especially around the world. Turtle Wax is going to be the new sponsor for Fast Friday. And doesn't that just sound like a restaurant deal, Fast Friday? It's pretty insane, to say the least. I like it, though. I like the little ring to it. Fast Friday, only at Burger Chef or something like that. But there were also crashes today as well. And the big thing that I had noticed was that there were some rain at the end of it. But, of course, practice went smooth for the most part. Really no hiccups with the weather. Tomorrow is when you're going to see hiccups with the weather. And that's going to be interesting because, like I said, it's the first real time since 2008 that a major storm system was going to knock almost all plans out of hosting anything at the 500 and go completely out the window for tomorrow. And so that's going to be major knock on wood to try and see if they can even get some laps in going into tomorrow. But for the most part, if I had to describe today, it would be very overwhelming. I think overwhelming is the right word to describe this practice, as not only is this the time for drivers to attempt to race for the ultimate crown of going into quals and celebrating, I'm just saying this is huge, very huge, and everyone needs to be prepared for it. And so They need to really be frustrated today, but then come back tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday with a major chip on their shoulders. Because guess what, folks? The Indianapolis 500 is coming near and far. And it's about to actually be here in 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks. And then after that, we are going to cover more IndyCar as the season goes on. And we'll also have a new hockey podcast on ontheedge.com as well. We're still getting that figured out. So, other than that, I mean, stay weather aware for tomorrow because tomorrow's going to get really bad. And if we don't have an episode, like I mentioned, then the episode itself will air Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, like Saturday evening with pole day coverage. And so we thank you so much for listening to this recap of today's practice session. Just remember to start your engines and stay weather aware tomorrow. Have radios, coats, umbrellas, and know the shelters at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As last year there were not many, but there were a little bit in a few. So be weather aware and be very prepared for the weather tomorrow. Gentlemen, let's go racing on Fast Friday tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow or on Saturday. That's a tentative date. Thank you all so much. Have a good day, and we plan to see you tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.